Introduce myself if you don't know who I am. I'm Christy Mockstutz. I'm the Assistant Superintendent here at the OPI, and I'm going to introduce Whitney Williams. She's our ESA Specialist, and she's been implementing this brand new program here at the OPI, and we're so glad that you're able to join us today so that you could ask some questions. Hopefully, we'll have all the answers for you. If not, we'll certainly get back to the group if you bring up some questions that we haven't thought of yet. But it's an information meeting this morning and an opportunity for you all to answer or to ask some questions as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Whitney, our ESA specialist.
Perfect. Yes, thank you all for joining. And to start off, I just kind of want to give a quick overview of what the Education Savings Program is, because I know there's a lot of questions out there. So the Education Savings Account Program is a new program to OPI, and it's a reimbursement program for parents to provide more flexibility in their children's education. This program will allow parents to seek out tutors or therapies that they may be interested in, and they can submit reimbursements to OPI for those expenses. We'll also be allowing our parents to submit mileage reimbursements for, so if they're traveling a long distance to take their student to those therapies or educational therapies, then they can submit a travel reimbursement to us for to get reimbursed for those expenses. Secondly, if a student is determined eligible for this program, they would not be enrolled in a Montana public school. If they were to enroll back into a public school, then they would no longer be receiving funding from the OPI. This would terminate them from the program. And so on a monthly basis, parents will be submitting reimbursement forms over to OPI for those allowable reimbursements. And if you want to see what those allowable reimbursements are, we do have that listed on our website. And the first round of applications that we opened in May, those ran through June. OPI used our database system to determine if the students were enrolled in public school for the 23-24 school year. And they secondly had to be counted for A and B purposes in that school year. And so in determining eligibility for these students, we requested a copy of an IEP report, evaluation report, or private service plan from that school district. And we will actually be opening another round of applications in November. And so that will start November 1st and run through till December 1st. So just be aware that there may be more students enrolled in this program soon. And the same guidelines will be for that process, counted for A and B purposes and enrolled in the public school in the 23-24 school year. And so it gets kind of confusing because then when we jump to June 2025 applications, we'll be reviewing data from the 24-25 school year. So it'll be the same guidelines, just they'll have to have been enrolled in the public school in this upcoming school year. And then I also wanted to talk about new to Montana residents and kindergarten students, because in the law it states that new to Montana residents are eligible for this program. So in cases like this, we're requesting that the parents go to the school district and register their student with a student ID number. And this will help us for tracking purposes on our side for future payments to those parents and students. Any questions so far on what the Education Savings Account Program is? And Christy, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add in to what I just talked about, but.
Well, no, and Whitney, that's one question that we've gotten a lot is the language around the prior school year. And Whitney, I think you did a great job of explaining that it's really tied to that A and B funding. And that's what the prior school year means. And so we've had some people say, well, I was enrolled in the 2022-2023 school year. That was prior when I was, submitting in June, but really it's for that A and B funding prior to the year of enrollment in the ESA. And then the same thing with the ESA program. Once they're enrolled in the ESA program, that will continue on with them, and that will count as them having been enrolled. So they don't have to unenroll, re-enroll, unenroll. That will count for them. They don't It was a little confusing, the language in the law at first, but once they're in the ESA program, that just keeps them enrolled unless they re-enroll in a public school or write to us and unenroll themselves from that program. So but you did a great job of explaining.
I have a question, Whitney. So if they do it for 1 year and then they'll if they decide to apply, then the second year, we're not receiving A and B on them anymore. So we still continue to pay for that.
I believe that, yeah, I believe the A and B funding will still be provided out to the school districts in the following years. So
they're not enrolled with us. So how are we getting? Go ahead.
Rhonda, I just want to make sure I understand the question. Maybe I think Whitney might be understanding. You're saying that as students this year, these new students that are enrolled this year aren't actually enrolled in your school, so you won't be getting A and B for them. But they're counted in our calculation. They will be coming out to you because they're going to be part of the calculation that will be part of your A and B calculation for next year. So that will be counted in there from this side. Just FYI, and I know it's a little, that's where the confusing part kind of comes in a little bit, but that you'll get the money, it'll just come back here, even though they're not enrolled in you. So you'll have like this, it'll come to you and you'll just send it back in the following year as well. So hopefully that clarifies.
Right. And I'm sure I did have the earlier questions, so if we've had a kid that's been an out of district kid, and then we're paying for them through the ESA this year, we'll continue, even though they're not our resident after they're unenrolled, we'll continue this for years.
Oh, and Rhonda, that's an excellent question. So the out of district students are a little bit of an exception for the first year. The where they've been attending is already, that was already set in motion even before this bill became, active July the 1st. So in the out of district attendance agreements, the first year, it's that other district, the servicing district will pay that, but after that, that money will move to the resident district, and the resident district will get that and then pay that. So we're sending out some clarifying letters to those couple of districts who are in this situation, but it will just be that first year this time. And it's just in this, just that changeover and just the way the A and B runs. So yeah, I hope that clarifies.
So Christy, that was my questions. And if a student's family wants to participate in this voucher program, and they, like the student that we have that's taken the voucher is not a resident student anymore. They enrolled in our school last year for 2 months. And the only way we were aware of that is because they had siblings and we got requests from the other district they're moving in. What is the mechanism that OPI has in place, especially if it's just a single student, to catch that so that the district is not the district that's no longer the district of residence isn't continuing to have to pay that voucher?
Yeah, and that's correct. And Whitney, you might be able to speak to that a little bit more with your work with the data team on that and that information.
Yeah, I'm working with Nicole Thout on checking our Infinite Campus system for that information so that we're making sure that these students are actually enrolled and counted for A&P purposes in that school district. So if a child moves, I believe, yeah, Nicole would be able to update me with that information. And I'll be reaching out to her frequently on that.
Yeah, they will be enrolled after this year. And so when we have our districts, we have a legal responsibility to verify that they are a resident student of our district. Who is doing that process for the kids on the voucher program?
So that'll be part of our school finance team, doing that behind the scenes.
So you're going to have somebody going out and doing home checks to see if somebody's actually living in that address. And, we send out school resource officers.
We require for the application part. So I just do want to clarify, this isn't a voucher program, it's a reimbursement program. So I just want to say that's just those are slightly different things. But for this ESA reimbursement program, yes, we require proof of address to confirm that and it's the state, the Montana code annotated what the state requires for proof of address. So that is what we require for eligibility into the program. So that is that information that parent sells, and that's what we can do within the law. That's what we're allowed to require.
And that's checked every year.
Yes.
And so my
So I
second
had-
question is,
Go ahead.
so we have a student that's taken the voucher and we're supposed to pay, I think it's $6,000 or whatever it is. But the student was only enrolled for, like I said, 2 months on our case. So we did not receive full A and B for that student. We received the half A and B for that student if they were counted in the fall. Are we still responsible for the full cost of the voucher, or is that prorated based on what their enrollment was the prior year? 'Cause that's a
No.
whole.
Yeah. Yep. It's the full amount. It's just as if any, it's the same as students that move partway through the year, students that come in partway through the year. That works the same.
I wanted to ask a question too. I'm sure that you guys have a process of, we as a district received the notice of students and the due dates of when we were to pay those amounts. What process do you have the information from our Infinite Campus to see that if a kiddo is on that list, they've signed up for ESA, but then they show up here for the first day of school and now they're attending here? I just want to make sure there's a system in place that they're not able to access both.
That's a really great question. Whitney's nodding. We have talked a lot about that. And we require in the parent contract that they notify us if they re-enroll their student. But at the same time, if you at the district, if they come into you, I absolutely, and that's actually one of the reasons that we kind of this monthly payment schedule also sort of mirrors. That monthly payment goes into the trust account on a month by month basis. So then we have that, we get it as fine tuned to that month releasing into that trustee account for them, for those, exactly for that. So there's that kind of quick catch and we can kind of stop that payment going in as quickly. But we absolutely are asking you they're required by their contract with us, right? Their legal binding document to let us know if they've re-enrolled their student in a public school. But we would also ask for you to follow up with that. And we will be, as Whitney is saying, we will be confirming with AIM, regularly and doing that cross check. But absolutely, we would want you to reach out to Whitney to say, hey, this student was on our list for the ESA program, but actually has shown up and is coming to school. So that would then disqualify, they would be ineligible from the ESA program. Yeah.
Well, we do have that situation, but I'll email you guys directly to make sure that we're not paying for both. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Sounds
I
good.
think, yep.
Hey, have you guys, what's the coding we need to use when we make these payments? Do you guys know?
Yes, I actually did receive the coding this morning for that. So let's see. It's going to be object code 812 is what has been decided for you guys, and it's going to be an individual code to keep those funds separate. And this is I was hoping that Paul Taylor could join us in on this meeting, but this is a note from him to keep in mind that for TFS purposes, it's going to be, so he says items as we currently collect roll-ups as 812 will be summed up with all the other 800 object code expenses. So for this year until we get that figured out. But he said this will provide districts with a local object code to track the expenditures at least. So they'll be tracked separately from all your other expenditures with that code, object code 812. I hope that helps. And I'll send this information out to you guys too in a separate email, along with the chart of accounts. Okay. And so I guess I'll move on to the payment schedule. And we kind of talked about it a little bit. So on August 8th, I sent the letters out to you guys, letting you know what students were enrolled in the program and the amounts that you'll have to submit back to OPI each month. And so we're requesting that those payments are received at OPI by the 10th of each month. And so that'll give us time to get those funds deposited into the student's account and reimbursements submitted out. And we have those amounts posted on the OPI website as well. And I don't know if you guys have been able to see that, but I will share my screen really quick. to kind of show you where that is on our website. So this is our landing page. And if you go over to the right-hand side and click Education Savings Account, we have all of our information outlined on here. And if we scroll down to how do families receive the reimbursement, how much may families receive in their account? If we click here and click on this Education Savings Account Student tab, this kind of gives you an outline of what each district, what each student per district will be receiving. So if you ever want to go out and find, and this will be updated on a yearly basis as well. So I just wanted to throw that out for you. And if you guys have any additional information that you would request that we put on our education website for you guys, please let me know and I'll work on updating that. So, and then we talked about coding.
Whitney?
Yep. Yes.
This is Christy from Stevensville School District. When you're talking about the coding, you indicated object code 812. I'm assuming this comes out of, in our district, we have an elementary and a high school. So I assume we're taking it out of our general fund, since that's where we're getting the funds are coming in for A and B. But is there a certain program code or function code that we're expected to use also?
I think Deanne, do you know of that by chance? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Deanne. Oops.
Here I am saying all these great things, right? I do have, school finance is getting a new code researched to make sure that we don't have any sort of duplication so that it can be recorded. There was a suggestion, and I don't have the coding number in front of me, but yes, we are going to get that out.
In the interim, do you want us to just code it our own way and then do a JV after we find out the correct way?
I'm hoping
Yeah.
that we'll have it by the time you're coding the payment later this week or the early next week. So if not, yeah, we'd have to do that, but we're trying to avoid that for you.
The reason why I'm asking that is typically for us, our board meetings are once a month, right around the 10th. And so in order to have made this payment, but the August payment for September 10th, we would need that in that board packet already. And I'm sure other districts are the same way. We only do payments once a month. And so that's why I'm asking all these questions.
Okay, let me check on that. I know I saw an update on it yesterday, but it wasn't the final. I think they wanted to check for Paul, and he was on a much deserved vacation for 2 weeks. So they're going to run their suggestion by him, and I should be able to check with him. He is in the office today. So that's why I said I thought my hope was that we'll have this out in time and at the same time as we're processing payments. Let's see, it'll be tomorrow, Monday,
Yeah.
we're processing the.
I'll double check too, and I'll make sure to notify all of you exactly what coding and everything that you have to use to submit these back to us.
I may have misunderstood or missed this, but when you displayed the spreadsheet of all of the different districts, I mean, we've gotten the notice but our district's not on there. So did I misunderstand what this is?
No, it should be on. So this is by county.
Oh, I was looking for Three
Yep.
Forks, so probably under Gallatin.
And so let me look. 3 Forks. So 3 Forks is on there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't look under county.
That's okay. It's okay.
So we're on there. Oh, yay.
Yep.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I have a question about that sheet as well, and I may have misunderstood, but the amount for Big Fork Elementary doesn't match the amount that is on my sheet to pay.
Same here.
Okay, so you'll have to send me that. And and I'll
Okay,
verify.
it's off by like a couple $100.
Okay. So I'll definitely verify that information if you send it back to me. I will take a look.
Okay, and is
'Cause it
this Whitney
should've-
talking?
Yes, yep. And these
Whitney,
these
I'll
should
put
be the
Whitney's
correct
email in the
amount.
chat.
That'd be great. Thank you, Christy. Like I know we had a preliminary out there too, and then we had the final. So I'm pretty sure that this was the final that's out there, and if it's not, I apologize. I will update that if that's incorrect. So, and make sure that I have that right amount. So, and then I've also been asked by a few districts if you guys can send in the full lump sum amount in one payment. And Christy kind of covered that a little bit, but we're requiring that you, the 10th of the month works best. Just in case a student were to enroll back into that public school, we can stop payments immediately to that student. So that's one of the reasons that we're just, I think, a monthly basis submitting these payments back to OPI would work best for everybody. And we also kind of went over the multi-district student A and B schedule. So I can go over that again, but for students who are enrolled in a school district and they were approved and then they moved to a different district, the school district that student was enrolled in the prior year would be responsible for payments. And then the following year, the new resident school district would take over for those payments as long as the student's enrolled in the program. And so I'll move on. Was there a
Whitney, this is
question?
Lucy again from Stevensville. I have a question for you. So we only got a letter on one student that was in the high school, and I agree the amounts are not matching.
Okay.
But on that list, it shows a middle school student and an elementary student. And to my knowledge, we only received the one letter. I would only be processing it for the high school student if I'm understanding everything correctly. We're in Ravalli County.
Yeah, and the same here with Three Forks. I got the letter and it was to elementary. And now I see on this other list that you've shared, we've got a high school, but I haven't gotten a notice on that. So I hope there'll be a little leniency on that first payment because again, I want to make sure we have this right.
Yeah.
I don't even know I don't even know who the high school student is. So
yeah, I don't know who these other two students are either.
I think the list shows every school, not.
Yes.
Yeah, the list that I was just sharing out to you guys, is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is for all schools within Montana.
Right.
So
but
if I'm confusing anybody on that, I apologize.
No,
but
it's
we both handle elementary and high school. As the business director, I handle both. So I would expect that I would get the letters for all schools and all the payments would come through my office. So I'm definitely missing letters for two of the students that are included on your list. And I think that's what she did too. Correct?
And so I will double check on that too. They should have all been included in there because right now we only have 19 students total enrolled in our program. So I'll double check on those and get back to you guys because you definitely should have received. I sent them to the school district in the directory, superintendent, district clerk. So, and it should have had all of the students for that district on there.
Whitney, if you can check for Three Forks too, because we're two districts, and I got the letter for elementary, but I didn't get one for high school. So I'm seeing this on the high school. We're one campus, so I didn't get the notice of the high school. So if you could check on that, that'd be great.
Rhonda, can you let me know where do you think you have a high school student enrolled in the ESA program?
It's on the list that you guys shared. I wasn't aware of one. It just says in Gallatin County, Three Forks High School, and it says we owe $7,172, $7,000. Am I misunderstanding?
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
that's Yeah, go ahead, Whitney.
Well, so the list that I shared with you guys is just for all districts. And if you did have a student enrolled in that program, that's the amount that they would receive. So that's what that list was. So if the letter that I sent you only included one student, that's the only student that's enrolled in the program. So I apologize if I caused confusion on that part.
Okay, so this is just what it would be if we had one.
Yes,
This doesn't mean we have
exactly,
one. Oh, that's better.
exactly.
Thank
So
you.
the only student you're responsible for is the student that I sent out on those district letters through email.
Perfect. Okay, that's
I
clear.
hope that helps everyone else too, if that was the confusing part there.
I'm clear on that now, but I do think that you need to double check the math on it because the
Yes,
math does not appear to match the math on the letter that you
right.
sent.
And I think that's due to it was preliminary on here. I should have showed what the actual amounts were, but I believe this was the preliminary amounts, and the amounts that I sent you are the final. So again, I apologize if I caused confusion there. I'll make sure to get this updated with our most frequent amount out there for you guys. Okay, and then is there any more questions on that part? So I'll move on to district responsibilities, which we kind of went over, but we just want to make sure that the district notifies OPI if a student enrolled in the program were to enroll back into the public school, that you notify us immediately. We also have the parents who are supposed to notify us as well, but we just kind of having that double team effort would be great. So, and then also just ensuring that the payments are received back to OPI by the 10th of each month would be great. That way we can deposit those funds into the student's trust fund account. And then on to OPI responsibilities, we'll just be ensuring that the expenditures submitted to OPI are allowable expenditures. We're reviewing those as a team and going over everything together. So, and then also when parents are submitting reimbursement requests over to OPI, we're having them certify on the form that their student is not enrolled in a public school, and then also that the expenses on that reimbursement form are allowable for this program. And then on OPI, if we are notified by a parent that they're planning on enrolling their student back into the public school, we'll definitely notify you as soon as possible if we hear anything on our side. And so that covers up what I had on the agenda for today. So I'm going to kind of open it up for more Q&A on your side if you guys have anything additional that we did not cover. And I'll also be posting this. I can share this recording out on the website as well, or to anyone who missed it, may have missed the meeting.
We only have 19 students enrolled in the program.
Oh, is that in the chat? I apologize. Yep.
That's okay. Yeah, that was in the chat.
Yep, and hopefully we may have more upcoming in November because again, we're opening applications again on November 1st. So yes, currently 19. Statewide, yes.
Yep. Meredith asks, will we receive a new letter on payment? Do you mean every month a letter, or if new students are enrolled? What, Meredith, could you clarify that question? And then how many times a year are you opening applications? From Lisa? Lisa, the law requires us to have 2 application windows per year.
And it'll be standard May through June and then November through December.
Oh, Meredith, thank you. I think that what it is the document on the website, Meredith, is the preliminary data that was pulled before final A and B calculations. That was posted there for people, for any interested families to know what the ballpark number might be. So, but Whitney will confirm, but the letters, the amount on the letters is the corrected A and B amount for this year. But Whitney will follow up with you. If there is a change that will be needed, she'll let you know. But the letter that you received has the current amount. The chart online was a preliminary amount.
I have another question. Is there any process for tracking wherever the student is getting therapy or attending a program, that they're actually attending and I mean, obviously this is a hardship on every district to have to continue to pay this. Is there accountability that they're going to follow through, and would we keep making payments even if they're not attending? I guess they're submitting invoices to you, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And that's why I kind of clarified earlier with that it's not a voucher program. The parents don't get any money until they've submitted a receipt with that shows and has evidence of being properly paid and is for eligible expenses. And so they don't get any money until they've already proven that they've already spent the money, and then they have to provide evidence that it was an eligible expense. So I hope an eligible educational expense for their special needs child. So that is, I think Rhonda, answers that question, because that's a pretty careful, it's a careful process for that. And then there was another question in the chat that says, if funds aren't used, where do they go? Can it be used for future students? And no, these, by the law, these funds stay in that trustee account until the student is 24. They can't actually, no expenses can be taken out of the account after the student is 19, but the account stays open for there to be eligible expenses that would have occurred before the age of 19 to be withdrawn until the age of 24 for just that student.
This is probably a very uninformed question to ask, but I know that I was talking to another superintendent and a couple clerks. Is there any room, would it meet requirements to use tuition fund to help pay for this, or does it definitely have to come out of our general fund because of the A and B?
I'm looking at Deanne for that. I would have to circle
Yeah.
with our finance, and Deanne might be able to pop in and ask that, but my initial guess is it has to stay with that general fund, because it is really, the law really outlines where these monies come from and where they go to. And there's not flexibility within that. So, Deanne's nodding, so I got the right answer. Okay.
So you're muted. So it's definitely general fund, even though this is an additional expense for us.
I guess I'm not clear on the additional expense. The money will come in. It's a pass-through, basically.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm not thinking of it clearly, but if we get A and B and a child is being met, their needs are being met with our current staff, just that one child leaving doesn't alleviate our cost necessarily. And now we're writing a check to for the services elsewhere. So it is, the way I'm seeing it is an extra expense for us. So that's why I was wondering if it's appropriate to even think about any of that coming out of tuition fund. And it's not.
I believe this is going to be general fund. I think we'd need to talk more, maybe bring school finance in, because no, we would not.
Okay.
I'm not sure what expenditure code would increase due to this. That wouldn't, that changes because of the money, the A and B coming in and then passing through to somewhere else. I don't think there's an expenditure code for you that increases, correct?
No, right.
I think that's how it's kind of been stepped through in the conversations I've been part of. So. And I'll verify that with Paul. I believe that is the coding that they are verifying, that we're going to check with Paul on. Yeah.
Yeah. And Meredith just says, we're getting the A and B for the student. Well, and this is in arrears, right? That's why the bulk of the students in this program had to have been enrolled in a school for the prior school year for that A and B to come to that school. That's why we had that out of district thing. So that just in that arrears formula, that is how it's happening. But like with any new student, who moves in, you don't have that from that student from the prior year either. So it kind of works in the same way as any movement of students there. But for most students, they were in your school in the prior year to be getting that A and B count for this coming year, if that makes sense. And then for next year, Meredith, if this is kind of what you were asking about, for next year, then the OPI will have to internally, these students weren't enrolled in your school, right? So they wouldn't be showing up in A and B. And so we will have to have that calculation there.
The question that I think Meredith
Thanks, Denise. Yes, general fund. Yeah, sorry.
I'm just making sure that I understand what Meredith was asking earlier, which is OPI will not be sending us a new letter every month. We just need to keep track of this on our own and make sure that we send in the payment off this original letter. Is that what we're understanding? Is that correct?
Christy, we didn't actually say that. The question was if the Meredith's question or whoever questioned earlier was if there was discrepancy in the amount from what was posted online to what the letter said. And we clarified that the letter is the current amount, but that Whitney would confirm that. And if there was a change, then a letter would come. We didn't decide if there wouldn't be a reminder letter going out every month. In fact, so this is a good question to put to our specialist. If you all would prefer a letter to come back every month, we could do that. I think that would be a good question for Whitney to consider. And all of you on the call, would that be helpful to you? You did get that payment. It would just basically be the same payment, but would a reminder letter be helpful? That would be good to know from this group, because you're the ones who are, doing this. So, you let us know if that would be helpful.
Yeah, because I'm more than happy to send out payment reminders to you guys, if that's something you would prefer.
This looks like, looks like that's
Monthly. Okay. It would also be a good way to verify, so that we're keeping in contact with each other, just verifying that student still isn't enrolled in the public school. So it may work out better that way, actually. So I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And exactly what we're glad that you all are on the webinar to be able to ask these questions and then say, hey, this would work better for us. Could we do this? And when we're happy to be able to do that. So. All right.
Is there any more? Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the same thing, Whitney. I don't think I see other questions. Okay. All right. Well, you have Whitney's contact information. I'm usually pretty easy to find, but I can pop mine here into the chat. And for you all, if you have any questions, reach out and let us know. Again, this is new for you. It's new for us. And Whitney's done an excellent job of getting the program organized and up and running. But we do appreciate your good questions, like, because you're the ones who are then implementing this on your side. And we appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today and asking the questions and guiding that. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Please make sure to send us coding when you have it.
I will. That's my top priority right now. So. Because I want to make sure you guys have everything you need. So. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
every time, I feel like